Welcome to Resilient Science, the show where we spend more than 30 minutes each week trying to better understand a topic around it's just goaltending. We're just talking about goaltending now. Brand change. I'm Ben Cernick. As always, I'm here with Jamie Phillips.
Jamie Phillips, we did get a lot of feedback that the longer podcasts are more enjoyable. We don't feel as rushed. And we did have a really cool topic to talk about that I texted you about, and then none of us did any research on it. So we'll talk about it next week.
Jamie, talk to your microphone.
Is it not?
Pull your microphone to your face.
Is it better?
Yeah, now everyone can hear your sultry voice.
Okay.
Everyone at home, remind Jamie to talk into the microphone.
Although I did listen to one of our episodes back, and I normally don't, and I realized that my nose being messed up really affects my voice, and I do apologize if you don't enjoy my voice. I don't enjoy it either.
Jamie, you have a beautiful voice. Everyone, please tell Jamie to talk into the microphone and that his voice is beautiful.
I gotta get used to it.
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay.
Our topic this week was going to be scientific. And then I ate a lot of pizza. My parents came over and visited for the first time in a while. I didn't do any of the research, Jamie, so we're hard pivoting from our topic today.
I didn't do any research either. I had 2 exams that I needed to pass, and I did. And then I watched John Jones last night till late at night. And
well, we each made decisions. But this week, as everyone doesn't know, Jamie does question and answers on his Instagram pretty often. And every Saturday morning, he does an Instagram live where he takes questions and talks about some stuff. And so that's a great resource to check out if you haven't checked it out before. But one of the great questions that came in, and Jamie was just letting me know, was someone wrote in and asked what his, and I guess by extension, what my thoughts are on goalies moving away from home at younger ages, whether that's to go play AAA, whether that's to go to prep school, or kind of everything in between. And so we thought we'd take this episode to kind of talk about that topic first of all, but also kind of the way that Jamie and I both moved away from home and kind of the way that took our paths and different options that goalies have. Because at the end of the day, especially in today's hockey world, there's lots of really talented goalies and still not that many spots for all of them. So finding the best route is difficult.
And the question was, he specifically said 13 to 15. And so I think that's our range, because if you look at, junior hockey starts when you're 16. Mm-hmm. So we're going to consider everything before the age of 16 as younger age in this context.
Yes. So I guess first things first, Jamie, I'll toss the torch over here to you. Because I think you made a really good point when we were just kind of briefing before this. So let's lead us off. Should you move away if you're between 13 and 15 as a goalie?
And the answer to that question is, everyone's going to love it, it depends. So I know. It really is situational, and it's a tough decision. I mean, we're not parents, so we've never made that decision. I try to get my dad on the podcast, and he refuses to come on the podcast, but I would like to talk to him, because he'd probably be a better resource. But anyways, I digress. And it really depends on the situation. It depends a lot on the maturity of the child, the situation they're going into, how far away it is from home, the coaching staff, the other players, the billet family, if they're going to a billet, if they're going to prep school, that's a little bit different. And you are a prep school kid, so I'm going to let you talk about that. But it really depends. And I had a conversation with one of my goalies this past weekend about this similar topic. And I just said, for him, he had outgrown his local small town team. And it was time for him, if he wanted to take hockey seriously, he needed to go somewhere where he had to play at a higher level. And so in that situation, becomes a decision of, do you continue to play at a lower level before you go and progress? Or do you do it right now and you basically have to, are you going to grow up early by living away and being a young adult at a very young age? And that's a hard decision. And so his mom and dad have to decide on what they want to do, but there's no right or wrong. And for me, the only thing I could do is break down pros and cons, give my opinion on him staying, him going. I guess, and then for my ending thought is, the worst thing is you can always come back home. If it's really bad, you can always come back home. But I do think if a player is younger just my honest opinion is I think prep school is probably better if you're younger, just because you are at like an academic institution and there's a lot of rules and everyone is in the same boat and you're getting athletes and non-athletes alike that are moving away from home versus if you go and move away to play AAA, you're most likely going to either stay with a family member if you have one or a billet. And that can be challenging in its own right. So Ben, you went to play prep school. What was that decision like for you and your family?
Yeah, so I think before I even get into that, I think the one thing to just add on to what you said there, James, I think that it depends really is important for where you're playing. So this question, should you move away between that 13 to 15 age group if you're already in an area where there's like a high enough level of hockey? I think the answer pretty much automatically there should probably be no. That's my thoughts on that matter. Like if you're in a major urban center and you can play for a team, like I don't think you should be moving away or sending away to play for a better team, like in the same level, especially. We hear stories about that all the time. Kids moving to the Toronto area at like 14 to play AAA in Toronto when they're from far away. I don't think you need to do that. I think there's a lot of benefits to not doing that. And if you are doing that or considering doing that, I think you should really think about all the pros and cons that come with that, like Jamie said. But if you're from, in like the situation you said, Jamie, if you're from, Bismarck and there's not high enough levels in Bismarck, or I don't know the hockey scene in Bismarck at all, but you feel like you might need to move to, I know there's a bit of that in the Midwest where there's not a lot of
Like if you're from the Northwest Territories,
yeah, you might need to move.
yeah.
That's just, yeah, right. And that's why even there's Canadian prep schools that exist, right? There's a reason that like Notre Dame exists and like Edge exists and Okanagan Hockey Academy. Like there's a reason those exist. But anyways, yeah, I did go to prep school, Jamie. I went when I was 17. So I played 1 year of U18 hockey and went after. So I went later than this situation where someone would be probably moving into grade 9 or grade 10. I'd already done 3 years of high school when I moved. So I essentially went to prep school the same year you went to play junior A. So moving away from home wasn't, I think 17, 17's, I mean, it's still early enough in your life moving away, but it's 1 year before most people go off to college really. So wasn't that big of a deal. But, so that wasn't a huge thing for me, but my goalie partner, my first year there, great goalie, he's still playing today. He went in at 14 too. And so like he came in as a true freshman in boarding school. And he acclimated, I think, pretty well. And I can't speak for him, obviously. But he came in and was able to play lots of hockey and get exposed that way. So from a hockey level, he was coming from Florida as well. So while there is still high level hockey down there, there's just more availability and more concentration at a higher level in New England, which is where we ended up. But I think it's definitely something, like you said, if you think your child or your kid, or if you're a kid who wants to go to boarding school or prep school, if you think you can kind of handle that, there's a ton of structure and there's a ton of supports at prep school. So it's not like going to a billet family and play, U15 AAA in Columbus after you're from South Dakota, right? It's not quite the same thing as that. There's a lot more structure. There's a lot more support. And you're ensuring that you're not going to be left behind. There are people looking out for you essentially as pseudo parents in that situation. So I'm really pro, especially for goalies. Honestly, I think boarding school is a great choice. Whether you're 15 or whether you're 18, I think, or 17, I think there's lots of reasons why that can be a good stepping stone as a goalie rather than trying to grind it out in junior. And you can kind of talk about your experience in moving away for junior, Jamie, because those have their own challenges as well, right?
Yeah.
But I think, again, it definitely just comes down to your kid. Prep school will have way more structure than billeting or moving with a different family member. There's just hands down no comparison. You will have a lot more structure, and you also get 60 games because you're going to play hockey basically in the fall and the winter for 2 different teams, but you're going to get a lot of games too as a prep school goalie.
Yeah. When I think about it, unless you're from like a really remote area where there's nothing high level available and you have to move, that does change the situation because, between the ages of 13 to 15 is a really important development time. And if you are good enough to play, say, AAA, then it's so hard because, like, hockey-wise, yes, you should do it. life-wise, it's a family decision, and it's so difficult to make. Now, if your decision is to go to prep school, I do think that is a lot easier just because of that structure, the oversight from the not university, the prep school. Yeah. So that one makes it definitely a lot easier. And yeah, so like for me, like I went away to junior when I was 17, so 16 or 17 when I was a little bit older than the age in question. But it is, that was my first time living away from home. It was challenging. I was with, a billet family, and they were really nice, but it's still like it's different. And you're kind of taught in hockey that this is part of it. That if you want to go on and play hockey, you're going to have to move away from home almost eventually. I guess like some people don't, but they're lucky in that sense. But almost everyone moves away. And so I do think being a little bit older was definitely really beneficial for me. But that was because my decision was to play junior. I grew up in an area where within an hour, there were a lot of AAA teams for me to play on at least one of them. It's tough. And then junior, trades happen a lot. I guess we should still stick to the agent topic. We're probably not getting traded in AAA, but it's just like.
But hold on, no, but this is important because I think this is something that's ridiculous that happens now. And I'm firmly in the club. This is ridiculous that there's 13 U12, U13 starting goalies. Like that's wrong.
Oh, this is so now. Well, you know what? Then we're gonna pivot this conversation so we can double podcast. Well, yeah. So I think so. To summarize that, it really depends. It's a family decision. If you're in an isolated area, it's probably, but you don't have to. If it's prep school, I do think that decision is a lot easier.
Mm-hmm.
But if you have the ability to play like high level AA instead of moving away at 13 to play AAA, probably better to stay at home, play that AA, skate with a goalie coach, and then so that you can either make that team the next year or have an extra year of maturity before you make the decision to move away. Because maybe you're on the fence, you decide not to. Then during the year, you're like, next year's the decision. You can prepare for that. You can prep rather than just jumping in at cold turkey. But going back to what you said, wait, there's I'm not, you're more involved. You're in the Toronto-ish area, the GTA-ish area. They're like set in stone starters at young ages.
There's legitimately, we had some situations this year where before the season started, we had parents asking us, should my child play for this team or this team? And Team X, the coach says they're going to get like 30% of the games. And the child in question was 12. And also that situation was not a AAA team.
Oh, okay. Well, that's unacceptable.
It's not. It literally that coach should not be allowed to coach. I'm fine saying that.
There's so many things with that too. Like we get you want to win. It's okay. We have to understand it is development as kids. And then so was it AA, single A?
Yeah, I think the context. I think it was a AA team.
Okay, so I guess unless your second goalie is like really objectively a bad goalie, and you had to have him or her on a team because you had, but even still,
don't take the goalie
development.
Just don't take.
Just run with one goalie.
Yeah, and have an AP, right? And because I think that's unfair to the second goalie because
you're ruining their development by not playing them or her.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. With whoever, yeah, exactly. By not playing that, right?
Yeah.
And so I think, yes, and that is really like where this conversation should end, right? So this is why I wanted to say, tying into like, should you move away from home? Because I think this is the exact same situation. Is like, if you're considering moving away, make sure the place that you're going to move away is going to provide adequate playing time, right? And that's something that's important in the prep school level too. And that's why I wanted to say it. Is because if you're a younger goalie going to a prep school and there's an older goalie, they might be committed to a college already. You probably won't play a lot there too. But the difference between prep school and U15 AAA is that there's a whole side of school attached to it. There's a whole side of the extracurriculars that are associated with it. And most boarding schools will put you on a fall hockey team where you'll play 20 games. So it's not like you're getting 0 games. You're just going to get, 25 games because you're not going to play as much. But like but this is so the two are attached. But yes, the fact that there is starting goalies in minor hockey is deeply concerning.
How is that allowed? Like I thought, because when we played AAA, we rotated until maybe a tournament, come the semifinal, final game. If someone was playing better, then they got like back to back. But it was still like a really big deal. I remember in minor midget AAA, I was technically the backup when I first got to St. Catharines and played well in like the Tim Hortons tournament or whatever. And I ended up playing semifinal and final. And that was like a big deal that you got back-to-back games. That's crazy though. That's ludicrous that there's starting goalies.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, like, I'm actually, look, and I think it's wrong to say that people don't care about winning, because people care about winning at every age.
Yeah, and everyone cares about winning. I care about winning.
Yeah, we're not saying, we're not here to say don't count score and don't count who wins. It's just acknowledging that like people need to play, right? And so I think, again, as you get older, if that situation happens, just remedy the situation, right? Oh, you played 2 in a row in the tournament, that other guy just plays the next 2 regular season games, right? Like just remedy that situation, make it even.
Or if it's like one back-to-back situation, then you just get back in your routine afterwards. Just say, hey, Jimmy was playing well, and as a tournament, we wanted to do it. If you're playing well, we're going to give you that same opportunity.
Yeah. And so it's definitely ridiculous at a younger age. Like the fact that exists at 11, 12, 13, that's...
Yeah. And we're not saying like, oh, everyone gets a trophy, everyone deserves, if you're playing, especially if you're playing AAA, like at any level, it is development from a young age. Yes, you want to win, you want to challenge them because that's part of athletics and life, but it is development. Once you get to junior, it's still development, but now, there's a business side of it. But when it's minor hockey, like you're just trying to, if you made the AAA team,
you deserve to play.
You're a AAA goalie. Rotate, when the tournament comes, or just set that standard from the get-go, being like, this is development. We're here to win, but we're here to get better. So we're going to rotate. Whoever plays the best is going to play semifinal and finals if that opportunity arises. And then just say that, and then the kids have a challenge.
Yeah, exactly. There's some motivation there. Jimmy, I'm going to put this question in because I heard this one the other day. I was listening to a podcast that proposed this idea. I'm not even going to tell you how I feel about it. But the argument was that, let's say up to U12, you split every game for goalies down the middle. Every game the goalie plays.
I don't hate that at all.
Neither do I.
I don't hate it. I don't love it.
Nope.
But I don't hate it.
Yep.
I do think there is a lot of value in playing the full 45 minutes or whatever kids play. Although backing up isn't really doing anything for young kids. So I don't know how I feel. I'm on the fence. I think it's a good idea at the same time, but at the same time, I think it's a bad idea. But I do think it's better than I think it's like 70, like 60-40 good idea, bad idea.
Yeah, and so hear me out, because I've thought about this one a lot. But I think there's definitely times you could play the full game, but I think there's a lot of benefit to playing in every game. And I've even thought about it even more ridiculous that you swap every period, which is a preposterous idea. But like,
you played 4 periods.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. There's I mean, hockey's a little slow to uptake new ideas, right? Like again, we've talked before about how using a smaller rink when you're younger is good. We've talked about that before. But I think like from a development standpoint, especially with the way hockey seasons work, sometimes with a rotating schedule, as a 11 or 12-year-old goalie, you might not play in a game for 3 weeks just because of the way your schedule works.
Yeah.
And that's crazy, right? That's something that shouldn't happen. You shouldn't.
What do they do in trying to think of this, like soccer. Soccer usually has the most amount of research behind it in terms of development. What do they do with their goalies, do you know?
I don't, but so I wish I had a statistic here. But I mean, I think the thing that's really interesting is soccer doesn't become full 11 versus 11 aside until like 13, right? So they're not even playing full size soccer fields until 13.
Yeah, which is
So that's
100% makes sense. But notice, but this goes back to when we had the discussion earlier, a few episodes ago in the pod, where this Parents Ontario created their own full ice league,
the Super League.
Leading up to U12, instead of splitting the games between goalies, I think it would be better just to split the ice, and you have your team. So your team gets split in half, and the other team gets split in half. So you have two games going simultaneously, and then after the halfway point, you guys swap, and then you play the other half of the team. And so you're getting small area, you're getting the whole allotted time, the 45 minutes. Everyone's playing all the time.
I love this. I think it's a great idea. I mean, and I think that is the direction that hockey would like to go, and if it was possible to do that.
And you take the accumulation of both scores, and then be like, Team Black wins.
Yeah, I mean, again, like even at U11, like the fact, like it's funny. Do you remember minor hockey? Do you remember my hockey rankings? Do you remember that?
Oh,
that so my hockey rankings is still a thing.
No, it's not.
Oh yeah, it is. Oh, it's huge. I hear about my hockey rankings 10 hours a week, easily. I'm pulling it up right now because there's something that is very funny to me. Hold on.
It's still a thing.
No, Jamie. No. It's not just a thing. It's not just a thing. Because hold on.
Oh my gosh. This is like a trip down memory lane for us.
Jamie, are you curious? I was wondering, are you curious what the My Hockey rankings are for the 2013 born single A teams in Ontario? Because I can tell you, we have ranked U10 single A. Ranked.
No, never once has that thought crossed my mind.
Well, shout out to the Central Wellington Fusion for being 42-2-2 this year.
All right.
But yes, so I wanted to let you know that when we care about development and we want goalies to get better and we want goalies to play in both games, keep in mind that there are people ranking 9-year-olds.
That's actually banana lands. Okay, I was really curious about the Squirt Louisiana rankings here.
That's what I'm saying.
Oh, no teams found.
Not enough people are talking about the Vermont Squirt rankings though. So
there are Quebec Adam double B Squirt rankings.
Yes. So this is us going on a bit of a hard pivot from what we were kind of going through, but this is the reality of minor hockey, and it's like I said, we're not here to say that we don't care about winning. Everyone loves winning. Kids very aware of winning, right?
Mm-hmm.
Your 9-year-old knows the score whether it's on the scoreboard or not.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Your little brother, your little sister knows the score, even if it's not being put up. So this is not us saying get rid of scores. This is just when stuff like this exists and when people use these kind of things as reference points, this is when we start losing the plot. Like we're losing the focus of what's going on, right?
Because there's like we talk about sorry, go ahead. I just so frustrated at this. I thought this for sure would have died. Like this would have been on like Internet Archives.
No, this is alive and well. And people care about it, right? People care about it negatively when they're a badly ranked team. People freak out when they're playing highly ranked teams. And again, this is, it's just like a basic kind of ELO system head-to-head algorithm they have that built it. But it does, if you care about this and you're using this too young, you start losing what's the focus of your U10, your U11, your U12, or U13 hockey, right? Which is we're trying to make the argument of should goalies play in every single game. And I think a lot of people would say yes. I think a lot of parents would say yes. Nothing works in being the board. I used to wear mittens on the bench when I was like 10, being a backup goalie, because my hands would get too cold.
I wasn't really at that young of age, so
right. So you're better than I. But like stuff like that, right? Where it's like the fact that looking back on it, that I had backup goalie mittens, preposterous. Right?
man.
So
I'm just like I'm kind of embarrassed.
You're having a hard time with this. For people who are
am.
listening and not watching, Jamie's had his head buried for the last 5 minutes.
I am, because like you're right. And, and winning is important, and I absolutely hate losing. I hated it since I was a kid, and that's okay.
Competition is good. Competition is
Development.
good.
We want competition, but we want development ultimately. Development, 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 development. Oh my gosh. I need to close this tab down because it's gonna make me sick to my stomach.
Yeah, but I thought so. Again, like that, this kind of stuff existing, this ties into our topic for the day, where it's like, do you move away from home, right? Where it's like, again, because know what situation you're getting into, because you might not know the situation, and they might really care. You might be going to a place that is so focused on winning that you're making the step to go play for a better hockey that's supposed to be better for your development, but you might go to a team that cares so much about winning that your development's not a priority.
Yeah.
And if you're under 15, holy cow, like all that matters is that you're having fun and getting better. And those two things should be part of a process. And if I've said this, I find myself saying this all the time, is that if a team prioritizes development and enjoyment, getting better and having fun, the team will be successful.
Yeah, like you can do both. They're not mutually exclusive.
Right? And that should be the goal. If you are under 13, under 14, and you're doing training sessions as a goalie, and you're coming off more frustrated than you came on the ice, like that needs to be a discussion with your coach, and it needs to be a reevaluation of how you feel about hockey.
Yeah,
because that should still be fun.
No, I know. I love when I'll talk to like parents of like ages 13 to 15, and they'll say like, oh my son or daughter is on a team, and they're getting 50 to 60 shots a night, and they're losing a lot, and it's very frustrating to be moved to a new team. And I'm like, 50 or 60 shots a night is unbelievable for your development. Unbelievable for your development. Once you get 17, 18, yeah, you might want to consider it. Mm-hmm. But when you're young and getting absolutely like shellacked, I know it sucks. It sucks to give up goals. Yeah. And it's hard to see the forest from the trees sometimes. Mm-hmm. But trust us, it is good for your development to face that many shots. I would much rather give up 6 goals on 65 shots than have 12 shots and give up 1 goal.
Yeah. And this is another interesting thing. This is an important one to kind of tie into that, is if you're on a team that's struggling in general, let's say in this situation, you're U14, you're on a U14 team that's struggling, moving to like a team that's 3 rankings higher than you, it doesn't matter. Yeah, no, it doesn't make a difference at all.
Going middle of the pack to middle of the pack is still middle of the pack.
Correct. Exactly. Like the only time making this big of a jump is like going from a team that does not win a game to going to a team that wins 70% of its games or 50% of its games, right? Like it's like going to, again, a team that's, if you're in 12th place, going to a team that's in 9th place does not, you're still going to get absolutely shellacked by the top three teams, right? You're still getting pumped by those people.
Like when I look at my development, me playing that year in Welland when we weren't very strong, set me up. My first year AAA set me up to have success when I jumped to St. Catharines, who was a powerhouse.
Yep,
it really did. Because we weren't that great in Welland. We were competitive, but not that great. When I was exposed to high level AAA for the first time, I had to get better. And then when I went to St. Catharines, we didn't give up as much. But I was able to spend the previous year developing, and that helped me immensely. And so I think of that, like, I don't know. I'm still not over the My Hockey rankings yet.
Well, so this is the story. I found myself as we kind of unfortunately approach tryout season already. We're in playoffs.
Playoffs and tryout season and the off season.
Yeah, what's going on? Like the fact that I say we're in playoff season, which is a directly adjunct to trial season, feels silly to me. But I've reminded a lot of people in the past little while that I didn't play for my first winning team until I was 17. So I played AAA hockey from 9 years old through 16 years old in Canada and Ontario, and did not have a winning season. Not one. Moved to the US and then won the first 50 games in a row on the team I was playing on, which was pretty cool, but a very different experience. But
what I think is would you have been as successful at Northfield if you were on a really good team and didn't get that kind of growth and development? I don't know.
Yeah,
it definitely didn't hurt you though.
No, because I mean, so here's the thing. As you get older, you will still be able to stop low danger chances. You're still going to be fine stopping wrist shots from the blue line. Like that is something that is not going to matter if you're on a good team or a bad team. But something that we always talk about is if you're on a team that gives a ton of rush chances, which are pretty good choice chances, you're going to learn a lot about rush chances. And sure, you're going to get scored on more, but you're going to have a ton of exposure to rush chances, which is great. It's great learning. The one thing that is challenging, and this is a maybe sneaky one of the more important things, is to not become a goalie that learns to play just for the risky moments. And what I mean by that is you're on a team that gives up a ton of chances, so you start diving and flailing to try to make these massive backdoor saves, which might help you, but if you're diving every time instead of learning how to make that save properly, that might be slowing you down. So there's stuff like that still on those teams that aren't as successful, that there's stuff that's still under your control. Like if you're constantly flailing, you're responsible for your own development too. Yeah, your team's giving up a lot, but learn to play those properly, right?
I agree. I just wanted to see if Network 54 was still a thing.
I don't know what that is.
Oh, Network 54 hockey. You don't remember Network 54?
No.
It's okay, so it was like a forum.
Oh.
It's a forum where people would rank, like it would basically be parents, but we all thought it was like all the scouts would go on and like talk about who was sick and all these things. It sort of exists, but not in the same format. And then like you'd be like, oh, I heard so and so is getting drafted in the second round, or blah blah blah. And I remember like as soon as your name popped up, it was just like pure anxiety or excitement. And like it was just some parent like ripping you apart, and you're like 15 years old, and they're talking about like how bad of a person you were, and like, you know, for me it was like that guy's got to cut his hair. It's embarrassing to hockey, and like
that was just racism, Jamie.
Just horrible things. But
this may be kind of like, I don't know if you had this in junior, but I only played 1 year of junior. It was like 3/4 of a season, and I only played it as an overager. So that's my fun junior experience. But there was, again, forums back in the day where, and I remember I gave up a goal in overtime, like a 2-on-1 where the person missed short side, hit the stanchion, and went right back out the same side. So I'd gone the other way because I know how angles work. Anyways, goal went in, puck went in. And it was just like so many people being like, that goalie's overrated. Did you see the goal they gave up the other night? Unacceptable in overtime. And I'm like, dying laughing because 2 months ago I was putting up shingles on a roof. Like I was roofing 2 months before. So, but it's like the fact that exists, and that was in junior B, right? Which, to be fair, in the league I was playing for, like a very good organization and a very serious organization at the top levels of that league. But like, come on, people. Like I was still a child.
We can talk about.
I'll have to do that another time.
Bands another time, but yeah, we got a little derailed.
A lot of derailed
topic. Lot of derailed, but there's a lot. I think we talked about a lot of good things. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, share with family and friends. Share with people, your other hockey parents that are thinking about this decision. That helps a lot. But Ben, next week we will prep some actual science on resilient science.
Yeah, well, we'll see about that.
Yeah, we'll see. Yeah,
next week we might just be trying to find the meanest things fans said to you in your career.
It's so many horrible, mean things.
Yeah. All right. So today's episode on resilient hockey, we're just going to talk about the way Jamie was bullied as a professional hockey. But yeah, to kind of wrap this all up, right? It's a big decision, but know what yourself you're getting into, right? Know what position is going to put you or your child, if you're the person listening to this, what's going to put you in the best situation to develop. If you're a parent listening, what are you putting your child into that, right? Understand what the coach's attitude are, and take everything they say with a grain of salt too. Coaches are great, but they're also in their own interests as well. But you have to remember, like, at the end of the day, hockey is hockey. And just remember that 50% of NHL goalies who get drafted don't play a game in the NHL. So
thanks for that positive, uplifting ending. Thanks everyone for listening.
Jamie, we'll pick this up next week.